everyone. Yeah, welcome to the first podcast episode. Um, Really honored, honestly, to have the one and only Sevan here.
And I'm honored to be here, Brian. This is fun.
Dude, this is gonna be really interesting. So yeah, I don't know, like before. Yeah, so you left off on this sort of thing where like you said there are several topics that you like talking about. You know?
Yes, that is true.
Hmm.
So, I guess, what was I going on about? Something about listening to other people. And this whole point is about, talking and listening to people. And when you hear someone talking about something they're really passionate about, right? What is so interesting about that? You know, when someone's talking about something they're really passionate about, it's like they're speaking in a different way. And we love to hear someone talk about something they're passionate about. And I think it's because they're not thinking about what they're saying, you know? They're simply speaking with I guess from the heart, you could say. Whereas in like a conversation where you're worried about how you're going to sound, how the other person's going to think about what you're saying, if you're going to insult somebody, you're all caught up in your mind. You know, you're really trying to think about the words that are coming out of your mouth instead of speaking truly just from yourself without having to think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like that sort of like that difference you feel when suddenly a stranger brings up like some like if it's like guitar or soccer, it's like, oh wait, I know what to say there. But like you don't even have to think.
It's true. Yeah, but what's something you're passionate about, Brian?
Dude, like I honestly like music.
Music?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if I've told you, but I bought a ukulele like
You bought it?
a couple days ago.
Let's go.
Yeah, bro. And it's like, dude, I don't know what like took me over, but like something that was like I want to play either guitar or like the uke, and it's like I just like decided to do it.
It's a good choice, and you can definitely transition from ukulele to guitar
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
that was the thing. Like I went to the store and they're like I was like really torn between, okay, should I go like different sides of like ukes and like all that, but yeah, I decided that something about music.
What's your goal song to play on the ukulele?
Dude, oh my god. So I don't know, like a lot of people might know it's like Riptide by Vance
Oh, of
Joyce.
course, yeah.
It's like one of like the biggest ukulele songs. It's like, dude, like I've been playing like yesterday it was like a rainy day. I played like a couple hours of just like practicing on my own. Like, okay, I skipped my 385 lecture and I was just like I was listening to the recording, just like playing it.
Yeah, it's fun.
And it's like,
dude.
oh my god, it takes you into another dimension.
It really does.
That's what it
It's
does.
it's a dangerous path you're on. I have my guitar
yeah.
right behind me, dude, and during lecture, doing homework, I get distracted so often.
Oh,
just turn around, just start playing the guitar.
Yeah. I don't know if you've experienced it. It's like, I don't know. Like I said, it's like you take it to another dimension. Like when you're just nothing in the world seems to like matter as much. I don't know if you've like felt that sort of way. It's
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's once again the whole point that you're not caught up in your own mind once again, right? You're doing something that takes all of your focus, so you're not able to think about the past or the future or the homework that you should be doing instead.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really interesting because you bring up this idea of like mind, right?
Oh yeah.
And like
we've had our conversations about
right.
this.
So like with like mind, right? So like I guess before, I don't know, like in the past, as like a high schooler, like what did you have a different perception of what the mind was like? Oh, like yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly don't really know what I was doing in high school. Like it feels like that was a different person. And I think the difference is that I perceived the mind as who I was. I thought that I was my mind, and my mind was my thoughts. And so whatever my thoughts told me, I took as completely true. And a lot of times my thoughts would tell me, not so positive things. Like it can make you really self-conscious if you think that your thoughts are the truth, and your thoughts are telling you that you don't look good today, or that people don't want to be around you, and things like that.
Right. Oh, okay. And it was like, I did feel the same way, a bit during high school. It's not like I wasn't myself, but I was a bit like self-conscious, and maybe that does stem from the mind is always like thinking of something else to do. Like for those of you who are like listening to this, like it might be at first like I know, because at first I was like, okay, the mind, like what do you mean? Those are my thoughts, like, and it's like what you're saying here is like you had a change where it's you no longer are your own mind.
That's an interesting way to put it. It is true though. Like you're disidentifying from your thoughts, so you no longer are the voice in your head, which could also be called the ego. So you learn to honestly just shut down the ego. So going through any daily activity, how little can you think while still doing what you need to do? And then when you do need to think, you kind of activate your thoughts once again, and you use your mind as a tool instead of something that you are dependent on, or something that you make who you are, right? Because deeper, you are kind of something that you feel that you can't exactly put into words, you know? If you've ever, like when you play guitar, you know, you're not thinking, but you're being. You're definitely there. You're definitely still Brian, being Brian, but you're not thinking. And so you can kind of take that and apply it to anything you're doing in your daily life, is my philosophy.
So you're sort of proposing that, like, we are, like, actually not us. Like what we look like, you know, like, a lot of people are like, oh, okay, Sevan, you look like that. Or, like, you know, Brian, this is who you look like. You're saying that's not, like, who we are? Like,
So if you're going to talk about, like, our bodies, right, I would say no, we are not our bodies. Because our bodies are just one characteristic of who we are, right? And everyone has a body, and your body's important. You have to take care of your body, but I mean, just because I control this doesn't mean that it's what I am and who I am. And you can definitely go deeper than that. If you look at somebody and you just look at them as a body, then you won't feel like there's any presence there, like there's anybody you're really talking to, you know? And let's say down the line humans are like cyborgs, then where's the body? Which part are you? Are you that robotic arm that is now attached to you just because you can control it with your mind? I would say no, right? And so you have to go deeper than that. And if you are identify with your body and you say that you are your body, then you're probably going to be facing a lot of difficulties. Because you'll be sad when you watch your body grow old and decay. It's true. I think one of the things that people identify with more than anything, more than you even identify with your body, is your past. You know, you believe that you are simply a product of your past actions. And so the things you're doing right now are for are in order to create some better future you that is happy, that is the person you want to be. And so you look at time in your life and you yourself as this giant product of the past. So you're always thinking about the past, and you're only trying to work towards something in the future, some goal in the future, some external thing that will bring you happiness, right? And in the middle of all of this is the most important thing that there possibly is that you're overlooking, and that's the present moment, right? People are thinking about the past, and when you think about the past, you kind of identify with it, as I said. But what I mean by that is that when someone threatens your identity, which is the past, then you yourself feel threatened. If you believe that you are a person who has a certain opinion, for example, right? Then when you go into a debate and someone has a different opinion than you yourself feel threatened. You, Brian, will feel threatened if someone has a different opinion than you because you are your opinion. However, if you are not identified with anything at all and you're simply yourself, you're not identified with any ego, then you won't feel threatened and you'll be able to have a much better debate, I think.
Yeah. And, like, you know, like, you mentioned that a lot of people, like, they either, like, you know, live in the past or they try to, like, I'm going to be, like, saved in the future,
Yes.
right? And it's, like, I know, like, it's, like, a lot, I hear this, like, a lot, and, you know, like, I'm the one saying it, too, like, certain times, like, yo, I got to, like, just get through this week, you know? Dude, it's like, oh, I can't wait for the summer.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like, true.
At certain times, I feel like it's hard to live in the future. So, and this comes up especially, okay, so I like to run a lot. And I'm sure, like, you do your own, like, I know you also, like, run a bit.
I love to run, dude.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever felt it where it's, like, during that moment in running where it's just, like, your lungs are burning and it's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh, absolutely. I've been there.
Yeah. So it's, like, in those moments, I don't know, do you have any, because, like, before I'll just be like, yo, I'm focusing my mind on getting to the end, and then I'm gonna be so good, like I'm gonna be chilling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah,
that's the problem, and you can apply that to anything. I think that unless it's an activity that you deeply are enjoying because you tell yourself you're allowed to deeply enjoy this activity, like watching a movie or something relaxing, you almost see everything else as a means to an end. If I ask you why you're doing laundry, you'll say, well, because I need to get the laundry done so I have clean clothes, right? But if you think about it, like, you can do the laundry, and if you forget about the entire future and the entire past, then you are simply right there doing laundry. And the act of doing a chore then becomes a lot more enjoyable because you're not doing laundry so that you can ... You're doing laundry simply because you are here right now doing laundry. And if you're on something like a run and your lungs are burning and you're like, what the heck am I doing here?
Yeah.
I don't want to, I regret
Yeah.
everything, then you really only have two options. You either surrender to your circumstances, that is the present moment, or you change it. Anything else is insanity, So if you're going to sit there and hate yourself and feel bad and guilty because you put yourself on this run, your lungs hurt, and you're just looking for what's going to be after this run, then you have two options. Surrender to what the present moment is. That doesn't mean you won't stop, that you will stop feeling pain,
Yeah.
right?
But you're saying you'll feel like at peace with it.
You can be at peace. You can always be at peace. It's difficult, but I mean, if you're going to get into the philosophy of like what we're kind of on the rim of, which is like Buddhism, right? then the Buddhists would say that a true master is at complete peace, even if the world were to be falling apart around them. That isn't to say they'd be happy about it, but they would be at peace because you truly are invincible. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that if you aren't identified with anything, then you're not identified with, for example, your job and your grades. And therefore, if you get a bad grade on something, or you're not getting your homework done because you were tired today, right? You don't hate yourself. You don't hate yourself because you aren't threatened anymore. If you are identified with your grades, then when you're not doing homework, you're terrified because I am my career. And if I don't have a career, then I'm nothing, or I lost what I am, or I'm dying, right? But if you're not identified with that, then you feel invincible because you can't be threatened even by a bad grade. It can't impact you. It can impact your school and stuff. That might make you sad, but you'll be at peace, right?
Some of this makes me think, and this is like going like a totally just like existential crazy stuff. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I've always asked myself, as like a kid, like, yo, like, what's the purpose of life? I used to think that, okay, like, I don't know, this sounds like a bit like superficial, but I was like, oh, if I don't have like a Wikipedia page, if I Google my name and it's like nothing shows up, like, I haven't like done anything. I was like looking, I gotta achieve like a certain like, even if it was like I grew a bit older in high school, I was like, okay, I gotta at least contribute to society.
Yeah.
It's like this kind of makes you think a bit like, what is the purpose of life? And like maybe it's not something that's like so like black and white.
Absolutely, it's not. Absolutely, it's not. Do you think that like other animals are concerned at all with what the purpose of life is? If you ask like an eagle what time it is, they're not going to tell you like 2:30 p.m. They're going to say, what do you mean? The time is now. Like it simply is now. They might know day versus night and what they should do during the day versus the night to survive longer, right? But they're not concerned with some future version of themselves that will be happy and perfect, right? And humans are, because we're identified with our success. And so we believe that one day we'll be in a state that is perfect and happy. And so we do everything right now to get to that goal instead of realizing that to surrender to the present moment is to be perfectly happy right now, or at least joyful, or at least calm. Hey, can I ask you like a question that's been on my mind a lot lately?
Yeah, go ahead.
The question is this. Do you think that the universe is infinitely complex? Or to phrase that another way, do you think that there is such thing as a end to science? Or could humanity do science for the rest of eternity and never discover all the secrets of the universe?
Oh. You're saying like if humans like kept going on this sort of like developmental path, like research and all, like will there ever be an end, or will there be one day it's like we know every single thing?
Sure, yeah. Like 100 years ago we didn't know about quantum mechanics, right? And 1,000 years before that we didn't know about gravity even.
That's an interesting question, and I feel like I think my answer is gonna be like there is. I don't think there's gonna be an end.
You
I
think the
think
universe is infinitely complex?
I think it's infinitely complex, and like that doesn't like part like the sort of like mathematical or like engineering background of myself is gonna be like, no, there has to be some limit, some like known quantity, because
Mm,
like from the background, like every single thing could like okay, once it's investigated, like we know it. But I feel like in terms of just like thinking on it from the top of my head, it's like there is no like practical limit really. I feel like it's
right.
like I I used to think like okay shoot humans can like one person can know like pretty much all knowledge if you try to hard enough, and it's like I've kind of given up that sort of thing, right? It's like
Yeah.
I don't know.
I,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I
Hmm.
think the universe is infinitely complex.
Hmm.
And the scary thought that follows that is this is if the universe is infinitely complex, right? Then we are no closer to understanding the universe than, say, a squirrel is, right? Because
Right. Oh.
it's infinitely complex.
Wow.
It's
So.
like if you were on a track
Uh.
that was infinitely long in both
Mm-hmm.
directions, and I'm and you're behind me,
Mm-hmm.
then like which one of us is closer to the end?
None. Apparently
You
none.
can't be
So
closer
like
to the
what
end.
you're saying like an eagle for example knows pretty much just no like feels just as much like the essence of life as like a human.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, the question that I have then after that question is why do you think humans are so concerned with feeling like we're the most important or advanced animals? I mean, it's again the whole point that if there is no end to the universe is complexity, then our science doesn't really make us any more important than like ants even. And like how do you measure a creature's importance? Like there's more ants than humans on the planet. Like we
Right.
live longer. Well, there's animals that live longer than humans.
That's an interesting question. I feel like okay, there's some. I don't want to be like the human centric type
No,
thing.
please, please.
Yeah, but like just to bring down our perspective, it's like I don't know, like consciousness. This idea of consciousness, like
Yes.
it's like, do dogs have conscious? No, okay, no, okay, no. Like mammals, I kind of maybe see the argument more. But do you even for mammals, like, do you think dogs or like ants, or do you think they have this sort of like awareness of like existing? Like do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like how humans are like acutely aware that we're like existing. Like this is
Yeah.
crazy. Like how we even end up here? Like you know what I mean? I wonder if like an insect has that. It's
So
interesting.
you're going to say that the ability to perceive your own existence
Mm.
makes you quite important.
Not the way you stated that, it makes me think again, right? Because like actually, yeah, I have to say maybe it doesn't make us important. It's something special. I think like that we something an advantage that we I guess we sort of have that they don't maybe,
Has it
but
brought humans happiness?
no. So that's the thing. That answer, I think I'm gonna go with no. I don't think an eagle is any less happy than or a human can be. Like actually
Hmm.
like there are certain days I've been like, yo, if I was a squirrel right now, I had not have to worry about this interview. I have not
Mm.
have to worry about this test.
Yeah.
Like they're just chilling. Like there's no sense of time. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
go about their day. I mean I would not be surprised if squirrels are honestly more happy than 99% of like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
humans.
I had this idea that like we have our sensory organs, our
Mm.
eyes and our ears and our nose, so we can taste things, we can feel things, we can hear things. But I think that perhaps looked at it a certain way, and call me out here if I'm crazy, because I do want other opinions.
Uh huh.
In a way, our brains are just kind of this new sensory organ that is able to perceive consciousness the same way our eyes are able to perceive light. And it's kind of like our brains are just here able to perceive our own existence as though that's just another thing for us to sense and be aware of. But um, that's a little out there.
Oh, okay. So you're saying your brain is so the same way that like when you touch this desk, for example, it's like the sensory nerves are like telling you about the death. Like your brain is like just another sensory organ that perceives like the world, that the physical environment we're around.
Yeah, yeah. And so like, what's the purpose of the brain, right? The purpose of the brain is just to organize responses to stimuli, right? It floods chemicals in very precise, carefully calculated ways that I think humans understand to an extent, but to a large extent, we also don't understand.
Oh, you're saying the parts of brain that we have never tapped into, like what do you mean by like the part that we don't like understand as much?
Yes, I mean, for example, do we know exactly how like memories are stored in the brain?
Ooh, yeah.
We know what parts of the brain are like responsible for memory management, but the exact mechanisms of how our brains operate, I think, is largely a mystery still to humans, and a very interesting mystery, in my opinion.
Huh? An interesting mystery, as in like something that you'd be interested to see, like how like science finds a way to like explain this sort of stuff.
I think that if we are concerned with our own consciousness, which is something that we're not really even able to define well, what consciousness is.
Right.
I mean, just look at why can't humanity even come to a consensus on whether like a dog is conscious, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so lost on what consciousness even is. Then the brain contains the secrets, right, to what consciousness is, if you believe that the brain is where consciousness is located. That's the other thing I've been thinking about. If you look at like some people on this planet who are kind of like isolated for their whole existence for like a long, long time. When they were encountered by the rest of humanity, maybe I should have a source to back this up. But some of these people we were asked like...
was it like, we're talking about like Sentinel Island, and like there's like these like tribes.
Someone like that.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like a tribe on an island, for example. And they believe that they perceive the whole world and where they were located in their body, like in their stomach, for example, instead of in their head. And it's like, why are you in your head? And it's really just because you've been told you're in your head since you were like little, right? If I asked you, Brian, where are you in your body? Like, point to it. You point to your head.
Oh, you're saying that's an interesting question,
right.
Actually, in and of itself. It's like...
And it's like, it's obvious you're not in your hand, because I could cut your hand off and you're still Brian, right?
Actually, yeah, I don't know if it's in my... I don't know where I am in my body.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the reason why I would say is my head is because, like, you feel like you're looking through your eyes, so it's like...
Yeah, it's the eyes.
But it's interesting how you said, like, there's people that said it's through their stomach.
The stomach, yeah.
And, like, I guess some would argue, like, damn, like, maybe, like, my soul or, like, some essence,
yeah.
like...
That's true.
So I want to talk about... I know you brought this up a bit, the topic of, like, death.
Sure.
It's really interesting, right? So...
Death is really interesting.
This is... I don't know what aspect about it, but it's just, like... And, like, maybe I haven't come to a consensus on this. I'm not sure if you have, but I think I tell myself, like, oh, shoot, like, if death comes, like, yeah, like, it's going to be, like, whatever, like, I'll accept it. But I still don't know if I'm, like, deluding myself. Because, like, maybe that day, like, when it's like, oh, wow, I really am, like, it's going to happen. It's like,
yeah.
I want to be accepted. You know, it's like, because this is all I've known so far. It's like living or, like, being in existence, you know? It's like, what's after? Oh, my God.
What's after? Yeah.
I
think death for me is very closely related to the concept of time. And I believe that the concept of time and your sense of ego is an illusion. And what I mean by that is, once again, I'm going to have to go back to my point that when you are no longer identified with your ego and with some future version of you that should be happy because of what you're doing right now, and that's why you're doing it, when you disidentify from that and you do things simply because you are here doing them, then you no longer are concerned with the future or the past, and you're simply here right now. So, if that is true to its furthest extent, that you are simply here right now in this present moment, then you don't care if you die in 10 seconds. Because in 10 seconds is in 10 seconds. And you're here right now. And so in that way, you start to see the sense of ego in your body and your career, all those things you identified with, all those things that go away when you die. You see them all as an illusion of who you are. You're not your career. So when your career ends because you died, you won't end. And so death then is the ending of an illusion. And so death is only scary if you believe the illusion. I mean, if you look at like a spider, because we kill spiders all the time in our house, right? Why isn't the death of a spider sad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I named the spider and I celebrated its birthday and I kept it as a pet and it died, I'd be sad. But that's only because I've given it an identity,
You've given
right?
it an ego, yeah. You've given it something.
Yeah. I don't think the
you made it
spider
up,
is sad
yeah.
that it's dead.
Wow. It's actually just like there's no emotion. It is not. It doesn't. It's not alive anymore. It's like.
Yeah. But in that way, like, you are currently in the present moment, and you no longer have to defend your identity, that identity being a career. And so, yeah, if someone comes and they question what you're doing with your life, you don't feel threatened by that. It doesn't bother you. And so you become a lot more tolerant of other people's ways of life and stuff. Because if someone lives their life totally different from you, that's okay. It doesn't threaten your way of life.
It's actually amazing, bro. Because, like, and like I feel like the more you live in the moment, like, you know, just focus on right now.
Yeah.
The less you care about the result, or like, oh, okay, in 1 hour, like, what's gonna happen, or how these people are gonna see me in the future. It's something really interesting, because I don't know, like, even right now, like, during this podcast, like, as I was, because we were like getting, like, having trouble like starting it, I was like freaking out, like, oh, okay, like, how is this gonna, like, what if we like don't have enough time to record? It's like all this in the future stuff, like, oh, in the future it's gonna be messed up. It's like right now.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know, like, I know you do the different strategies, like, and you said like meditation and like looking at like the
it's
lectures.
a learned skill.
Yeah. It's a learned skill. And is it something that you gotta keep practicing, or like?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Being takes practice, so start now.
Right. No, because I mean, there's certain times where I'm like, oh yeah, I got it. I'm dialed in, and then like, you maybe come out, you like forget about that. You like kind of like, oh, go about your daily tasks for like 2 or 3 days, and then you're like, oh wait, I'm not in the moment like anymore. Like, yeah, kind of like we're not immune to it. Like, no one is immune to it. Like, everyone could like get into, oh no, I'm thinking too much again. I'm thinking about the past. I'm thinking about the future.
It's going right back to how we like started this conversation. The way people talk about their passions, right? That's how they should live their lives. When you're talking about your passion, you're not focused on how you're going to be perceived. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. If you're talking to someone you trust, I guess.
Yeah.
But you can live your life that way.
I was gonna say, I think when you're genuinely talking about passion, it's like you truly just like, you care more, you're like so interested in the passion more than how you're gonna be thought of. Like, you're not thinking about anything else, but just like, you're not even thinking, you're just you're just like expressing yourself, like,
and you're being genuine.
Yeah,
and you're being vulnerable, and you might not realize that because you're caught up, because wow, someone actually wants to know about my like rock collection. Wow, I'm gonna rattle off about it. But you are being vulnerable. To be present completely is vulnerable, because you're putting yourself out there. You're saying, this is me. This is the real me, underneath all my thoughts, underneath my career, underneath my body. This is the real me, and I'm putting it in front of you. Are you okay with that? And so you feel like you are in a position of vulnerability.
I've never thought about it.
And so you're like, you want to retreat. You want to retreat back into your thoughts. You want to put the shell back up. You want to go back into thinking and planning out how you're going to talk to this person. But that's why I love to hear about people's passions.
That's so
great. They're really there.
And like, going back to what we thought about like vulnerability, like I never thought about it as in like being truly who you are, and like, you know, talking about like your passions, like that's vulnerable, because you're not like, you can't really prepare yourself, like, because it's just you. It's like there's no other like, okay, I gotta like filter out this part. I gotta like be this way to be like.
Yeah.
Wow.
I talked to a Buddhist, and he said to me that true meditation and the act of leading the life that meditation is taking you to living is about the beautiful art of letting go of everything. And that means letting go of the things that you don't want to let go of. So you can't just selectively choose, like, oh, shoot, I have a presentation next week. Like, I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to think about my vacation in 2 months. Like, you have to let go of everything or you're not truly here. And that's frightening. That means letting go of, like, your family, letting go of everything in your past, the good things that you've done, your accomplishments, your money. I felt so threatened when I first heard this. And what threatened me the most, unfortunately, was my career. I was like, well, no. I want a career. I want money. I want to be successful. Like, you can't take that from me. That is who I am. I am my career. Like, that's just what I've been putting myself, all my time into for so long.
Yeah.
And it took a while, but I let go of that too.
So does that? Oh, so that doesn't play any sort of conflict in terms of, because, like, you know, my first thought to put the other perspective is like, oh shoot, yeah, like, yeah, you know, you got this like enlightened view, but it's like, oh shoot, how you gonna put bread on the table and, like, all that? Yeah.
So aren't all, like, people who embody this philosophy, why aren't they all just bums? You know?
Yeah.
Like, right. And I think that it's about a mindset change. When you are truly, deeply meditating, everything really does disappear. And if you were to meditate 24/7, then yeah, you wouldn't have bread to put on the table. But when you meditate and you come out of meditation, what you're trying to do is carry as much of that with you in your day-to-day life as you can. So when you're stuck in traffic, you're patient because you're here being, and you're stuck in traffic, you might as well be, you know, dancing at like a club. You're having just as much fun because you're simply here being. You've surrendered to the moment. But the mindset change. You see your career and your money and your happiness and your family. You see it all now as a game, and you get to choose how much you want to play that game. You can be a bum if you want. You'll be happy. You could be a rich millionaire if you want. You'll be happy.
Oh, wow.
The key is to just be happy no matter what you have. And then you will truly just be playing a game with your life.
Dang. Okay, so in terms of, like so you feel like you have some of these feelings where it's like, it does feel like a game at times. Or it does feel like so much less like ominous. Like, there's like so much less pressure.
Completely.
Yeah?
Completely. Everything has changed with this mindset. Like, my career, everything now, it is almost like a joke to me how much I was getting into it before. And if someone, for example, made more money than I did, I was so upset. And I felt like I was a failure. And if I'm not making more, right? Now, someone tells me that they make more money than me, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. In the slightest. I laugh, I chuckle, and I listen to them.
Oh, you're just
it's fun to listen to them.
Do you feel like happy for them, or are you just kind of just like, oh, like, you don't feel any reaction? Like, you're just like, oh, that's just it. It's just like,
I would say no reaction. No reaction is more adequate. I try to. And, you know, I can feel when my mind creeps back in.
Yeah.
And it says, oh, shoot, shouldn't you be making more money? If they're making more money, then if you just put in more time, you can make more money too. And then you just got to shut that down. Shut that down and smile. And you'll realize people are off-put by that. Some people are surprised. And they're like, it's clear that they still see it all as a competition. And they want their sense of
ego.
Right. Fulfillment from a career. I'm just going on the career a lot, but you can apply this to anything. For example, like, I like to draw. I like to draw a lot. But I can feel my mind creep back in when I'm drawing, and it starts to say to me, I say that say to me, even though my thoughts are, you know, part of me. The voice starts to say, like, well, if you try enough at this, you could then be successful with this. You could make money with this. How are you going to make a career out of this? If you post this online, how many likes could you get? Could you make a following out of this? And then you got to shut that down, because I'm not here drawing for a future career that'll make me happy. And as soon as those thoughts get to the point where it's like, draw so that you're famous one day from your drawings, and that's when you'll be happy, then you're no longer having fun drawing. And then I no longer want to draw. But what I found is that when you are doing something not as a means to an end, but simply because you're here doing it, then all of those things you were chasing before come so much more easily.
Dude, I actually picked up drawing during winter break, and the reason why I want to draw was like, oh, okay, I want to draw so I could. It was a little bit of, like, in the back of my mind, like, I picked it up. I was telling people, oh yeah, I just want to, like, try it out. in the very back of my mind, if I'm gonna be honest with myself, it was a little bit like what you're just saying, like, oh shoot, what if I become like really good? And one day, like 5 years down the road, I can like post this stuff. I could do something crazy. I could like be known for this. And little did I know it was like, yeah, it's like I want the results. I want the in the future. Like right now I'm grinding, but in the future.
Yeah.
And it's like it's weird because like my dad. Oh, so when I left for winter break to come back for second semester, I left my like drawing supplies at home because I was like thinking I wouldn't have time. So like my dad picked up drawing. He's like, okay, might as well just use my stuff. Like, and then he's like, cause like it's like lying around and stuff. And then so he became like, but the mindset my dad had was, I'm just gonna draw for fun. Just like he follows like Bob Ross paintings. It's like, oh shit, and it's like he's painting probably like when I was doing it like I gotta force myself to draw every day. And I made like 4 paintings or something. My dad's probably done like 20, and he's like, there's like just so amazing. And I tell him like, yo, do you like have any like do you have any goals or like? And he's like, I just really just do it for fun.
Yeah.
And that's where like it's like the greatest thing. Like
it really is. My advice, what helped for me, when you're drawing, fully convince yourself that you're gonna throw this drawing out as soon as it's done, and then you'll see how much easier it is to just draw.
Wow. What?
Yeah. That has been a key factor in me being able to like just draw freely now.
Huh.
Because halfway through a drawing, I'd be so caught up in what it's going to look like in the end, and if people are going to like this, and if I can hang it up in my room.
Like, what do you feel? Like, what do you when you draw? Like, is someone telling you what to draw? Or, like, is your brain telling you what to draw, or like, are you feeling it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I would say when I draw, I like to simply put my pencils to the paper, right, and then I would say it's more of a feeling. You feel what you're going to draw. At least for me, because I know there's a lot of people who like, for example, photorealism. And that's no less drawing than mine, but it sure takes a lot more planning and thinking. How does light reflect off this object?
What is photorealism?
Oh, it'd be like, I want to draw an apple that is so convincing that you would think a picture was taken.
Right. Okay.
But for me, I like surrealism. So yeah, the stuff I'm drawing is kind of just wacky, out there for fun. Like I usually will draw like a line or something, and then I'll close my eyes, and whatever the first image is that comes in my head, I'll open my eyes immediately and I'll try and put it on the paper.
Oh, it's like straight just imagination, like boom.
Yeah. I like to draw like creatures a lot.
Just like just stuff that you've like just sort of imagined and like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like make believe fantastical monsters and stuff that are very just make people think,
Yeah. So with these sort of things that like these monsters that you draw, do you see them in your mind's eye, or they come out once they're on like the paper? Does that make sense?
Yeah. A combination of the two, right? I think that a lot of drawing is in the imagination for me, but like I said, until I put the pencil to the paper, you have to see a few lines to be able to finish them, I think, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But drawing is really one of those activities where unless you're lost in it, you're probably not going to have fun doing it. And I think this also is the same thing with like guitar and ukulele. I'm excited you got the ukulele though.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Because it does take like years of practice to get good at guitar.
Yeah.
I remember guitar, like the first year or two was so frustrating for me.
Yeah.
So frustrating. And if you're not simply there, like doing it in each moment, not thinking about an end goal, then you might lose motivation. You'll probably stop playing guitar.
That's the thing, right? I thought about this, and we bring up ukulele, like music or like drawing. I don't know about you, but what the feeling that I chase so much is the feeling of just like not existing. Like when I'm playing like a chord, like it's like, oh shoot, I'm playing. It's like amazing. It's like I feel like I don't have to worry about anything else in the world. It's the same thing
with the music.
Yeah, or like it's the same thing with like meditation. It's like for one moment I can like feel like I don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
It's like.
And so I ask you, are you conscious in that moment?
Maybe you're not.
Because you're not aware of your own existence.
Yeah, it's almost like that moment where you're not aware is like the best moment.
So
So like, why is this? How is
Are we
this
saying consciousness is overrated?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I legitimately think like I'm now I'm like even more firm believer like the squirrels are legitimately more happy than us.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
cause
yeah.
like it's like humans chase like whether it's like anything like pleasure like food like we're chasing that moment of just like we just like, forget about everything else.
Yeah,
And like I've thought about it more. It's like why is it like the less we have to think about, the happier we actually are.
it's true. But my whole point is that you can choose at any moment, no matter what circumstance you're in, to be in that state of mind.
No matter what's going on.
No matter what's going on. I'll even go one further than you, because you said squirrel, right? But now I ask, what makes a squirrel more important than a rock?
Oh, you're going the rock route.
I'm going the rock route.
This is going interesting. Okay. That's interesting because I never thought about rock as like an animate object.
Right.
But you feel like it still has a sort of like something about it that is.
I simply don't understand why we ascribe more importance to a squirrel, right? I think I've said this to you before about the rocks. Because like a rock has being. A rock is something. A rock is organized. If it wasn't organized, it wouldn't be a rock, right? And a rock interacts with light. Light reflects off a rock.
Okay.
A rock doesn't have to know that light is there to interact with light. And
what do you mean by that? So you're saying it doesn't have to know that light is there, and that makes it like be like so like I'm trying to tie this back to why a rock is, because like because like you're walking, it's like this is a rock. This is even like this is like the concrete sidewalk. Like it like we're saying there's being in those objects. Like you feel like you like. It should be considered like.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't think that a rock has any being whatsoever?
I'm really interested. I guess I haven't thought about it like that, but like you're saying because it's organized a certain way, and
a rock is organized. It is there, right?
That's true. I can't deny the fact that it definitely is there. It exists.
I mean, where do you draw the line? Like look at a single-celled organism.
Mm-hmm.
It has more advanced means for interacting with its environment. But
I guess that versus like just a cell that's not moving. It's like I guess at the end of the day, it's like it exists, and so
a cell is just a very high level of organization. And we draw a line, which we arbitrarily call life, where that level of organization is enough that it means something to us. But in this infinitely complex universe, it doesn't matter where you draw that line. What's your criteria for importance, A star is organized, and it's going to outlive everything you've ever done. And contribute more to the universe, I'll tell you that.
It's truly amazing. Like, and so one day we're gonna one day we were born, and then one day we're gonna pass, and it's like in the grand scheme of things, it's like a footnote,
If that.
If that, it's just like it's almost like we really just didn't exist.
Right. Is that a sad thought? Only if you are once again identified with your future, your past, what you're doing, the things you can impact on this universe. If you're simply here being present in this one moment, which is the only moment you have.
Ever?
This is the only moment you have. When you think of yourself in the future, that future version of you will be in the present.
So alright, because life is technically a bunch of present moments. And it never feels like that. It feels like, oh no, the future definitely exists. Like, I'll be eating dinner in like a couple hours. Like, the future has to exist. But it never actually does, apparently.
This is complex.
It makes you see. Right now, I'm feeling a lot of things in life don't matter, and like it's so interesting. It's so interesting. Like a lot of things in life don't. Like, I'm in college, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, but like nothing really is like needs to be a certain way.
No, nothing needs to be any way. everything could be anything else and it would be just as important. Right?
Anything could be anything else and could be just as important.
Everything could be anything else.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like, like even this podcast right here. It's like I took it like I'm thinking like, oh shoot, like, because the only reason why I think people get nervous for stuff,
Yeah.
like I was definitely thinking about this. I was nervous, is because we're thinking about the future a lot. We're thinking about the pressure and like how people think of us. It's like all these things again. It's like stuff you're kind of putting on yourself. It's all
Yes.
on your head.
It is. Is this podcast a means to an end for you? Are you recording this podcast so that other people can listen to it? And are you here right now talking to me because you hope that this will have a lot of meaning for people and that like it'll make something out of what we're doing here? Or are you simply here right now talking to me because you are right here, right now, talking to me? Why worry about that stuff?
0.
So take that and just carry it with you in everything you do. And do you want to hear how to tell when you've stopped carrying it with you?
How to tell when you stop carrying what with you? Oh,
the mindset.
The sort of yeah.
Living in the now, right?
How are you able to tell?
I can tell you, you have a built-in alarm bell to notify you when you're no longer living in the now.
Okay.
That alarm bell is called suffering. If you're suffering, even a little bit, you're not living in the now. Again, you could be in physical pain.
Yeah.
You could have a horrible illness, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Your life situation might be very, very rough. But that's your life situation. Your life is this present moment. And if you've surrendered to it completely, physical pain, illness, all of that, if you've surrendered to it completely, then you move beyond that, deeper than that. Your identity is not threatened because you have this present moment. Right? If you were walking down the street in a clown suit and people are laughing at you, what do? Do you identify with your social status and how you're being seen by these people?
If you do, you're going to be in it for like a bad time.
You'll just be miserable. You could surrender completely to that and simply walk down the street in a clown suit. Surrender or change, right?
Yeah. Don't be in this like middle ground of, oh, I'm not going to do anything, but this feels bad.
I'm not going to do anything, but I'm going to worry about it. And you can live your entire life like that.
Easily.
Close to dying, I think, is when a lot of people have no choice but to confront that their life situation and their ego is not who they are.
Because it was all just sort of just like, I don't know, say like an illusion or just like something that you created inside your own head to make sense of life, or just to...
Illusion is the right word.
Yeah.
It is.
So it's really interesting how you said the alarm bell is suffering. So like any sort of suffering. If I'm just even so we could say you're like being nervous, like suffering. Like what's your like, is suffering just like anything that's like bad? Like
I would say that it's about the concept of what you're identified with in that moment. If you're nervous, right, it's okay because there's physical reactions to being nervous. And I'm not saying that like if you're sweating then you're not enlightened, right?
Okay.
Right. But how deep can you go with this mindset and this philosophy? And if you're about to walk on a stage in front of 100 people and do like, I don't know, a stand-up routine or something, like, are you going to be very, very nervous? Yes. But by surrendering completely to this moment, you won't be suffering. You'll be at deep peace, and you'll probably do a lot better of a job once you're out there.
In terms of, okay, so imagine like if I'm the guy about to go on stage and I feel like, oh, I'm sweating, so okay, what I forget my lines. Do I just tell myself, no, I'm not suffering at all, I'm completely chilling, or do I need to like accept the fact that I am nervous? Like, what would you do if you were in that case and you feel like, oh, I'm starting to go like shake a bit, like?
I had like moments of nervousness even just before this podcast. And I went deep with that, and I went as much into the present moment as I possibly could. And you don't dig a hole and bury your emotions, right? You don't hide them away, But until you go deep and acknowledge your emotions, you won't move past them. And once you have gone deep enough to acknowledge your emotions, then you've transcended them. And so I went deep with that, acknowledged my nervousness, accepted the present moment, and surrendered to it, because I am here right now doing a podcast. I surrender or I run out of this room, right, and don't do the podcast.
Right.
And as soon as I surrendered, I was no longer nervous. I'm not saying this is, a phenomenal podcast. I'm not saying that this is like, I think you're doing a great job, but I'm not trying to say that like I've done perfectly because of this and I'm now a master at podcasts. I'm trying to say that once I've surrendered completely, I have no reason to be nervous. Things are what they are.
Right. Like
wherever you go, there you are.
Right now, like a freaking tornado could like touch down in this room. It's like, okay, like it happens.
It happens.
Wow.
And I think you can live a life of inaction. And I think that so many people see inaction as a strategic place to be. What I mean is, well, I have a lot of things I'm interested in trying out. Drawing, guitar, ukulele, graphic design, web development, data science, different career options. You have a lot of things you're interested in trying.
Yeah.
And so what do? A lot of people freeze up. Maybe not in everything, because time does go and you do have to like get work done, but you freeze up. With hobbies, for example. I don't know. I'm not the best drawer. I don't want to start drawing. I should really think about this. And if I draw, then I won't have time to do guitar. I should probably pick one. So you freeze up. Inaction. This is a strategic place to be because I'm planning out what I'm going to do and which hobby is going to be the most benefit to me and which one's going to bring me the most fun, right? But when you take those time scales of how far in the future you're looking and how far in the past you're looking, first thing I say, because you always have those dials set somewhere. Are you thinking 10 minutes in the future and 10 minutes in the past? Are you thinking a month in the future and a month in the past? Take those dials and pull them as far apart as you possibly can. And then you'll see how meaningless all your problems are. So if you're worried about your career, for example, and you're thinking like 5 years in the future and 5 years in the past, and you're like, am I a better programmer than I was in the past? And if not, then how am I going to be a better programmer in 5 years? And I'll never be a good software developer, right? Take those dials and throw them as far apart as you can. Well, at the heat depth of the universe, it won't really matter what what career path I chose at all. Even like the people who love me, that stuff won't even matter because like the universe will just, in the blink of an eye, we'll all be gone. And then take those two dials that are now infinitely far apart and slam them together until you have nothing but this present moment. And that's how you go from caring about nothing to caring about, well, I guess in a way, everything. You're caring only about what you have, what's here right now. And then it's really easy to choose what to do. Well, I'm going to draw. I don't care why I'm drawing. I'm just drawing because it seems what I want to do right now.
I never thought about that. So I just thought about your thought experiment with the, heat depth of the universe type
the dials.
Yeah, the dials. And I put it like far away. When I put it far away, I'm like, wow, it's kind of like a relieving feeling. Like, oh, wow, nothing matters. Like, it's all going to... But then when you bring it to, like, right now, it's like...
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. It's not like, it's not like everything matters, but it's like, oh, wait. Right now, like, I could be, just, like, do what you want to do. Like, no one's telling you exactly what to do.
Yes. And the only way to really slam the dials together and live in the present moment is to stop thinking.
Stop thinking?
Stop thinking.
Now, is there a certain way you go about just stop thinking? Like,
yes.
Okay.
You need to learn how to brush aside your thoughts. And what I mean is you can't feel guilty for having thoughts. If your goal is to have no thoughts, you can't feel guilty when you have thoughts. Because then you're going to perpetuate, right?
Yeah.
You didn't do anything wrong, right? Your past isn't you, so you had a thought in the past. Like that's not something that you feel guilty about, right? If it was, then the whole philosophy would already be flawed. So you have a thought, brush it aside, and keep brushing them aside. And when you meditate, you are doing this as intensely as you can, brushing aside thoughts. So that in your day-to-day life, you're a little bit better at brushing aside the thoughts that you don't want to think about.
That's your interpretation of like meditation. It's
I would say that is what meditation is, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not being zen, thinking about nothing. It's instead not thinking about nothing, but when thoughts come up, accepting them and putting them aside.
Yeah, with the goal of thinking about nothing, right? Because if you are
Oh,
really, really good at it,
yeah.
then you enter a state where no thoughts are coming anymore. That's when you are deep in meditation. And that's when you forget even who you are, where you are.
What do you think about like do you think meditation is like death in a certain sense? Is it like a living form of like death?
You've transcended the illusion of the ego. So, yes, in a way. One of my favorite meditations is called Death Before You Die.
Huh.
Basically, meditate and try not to think about it, but go as deep as you can into letting go of your body and your ego. And if you do need to think about how it's going to decay and all disappear and let yourself die. Let everything you care about disappear and be taken away from you and go as deep into that as you can. And when you come back, well, nothing will threaten you anymore.
When you said death before you die, is this
Yeah.
something that you've like kind of created through like your own thing, or do you have any like sort of like resources or like sort of like where do you like find? It's really interesting. I don't know. I kind of do.
Yeah.
I want to try the death before you die. I don't know. Just yeah. Okay.
It's a good one. It's a good one. You flatter me. I did not come up with that meditation. No, that is I would say, a long time meditation standard. Fairly popular one.
Okay. And this is something that you can like just Google or just like
Yeah.
just
Oh yeah.
search and okay.
There's lots of tutorials on how to meditate. There's guided meditation, which is a great way for people who are brand new to meditation to get into it, because it's hard sometimes to come up with your own, like, to guide yourself, you know. And sometimes like the thoughts come and you're like, well, I don't know how to get rid of them because I don't know what it means to not think. And so sometimes the guided meditation helps you. I think, did I say to you, like, it's like you're throwing your brain a chew toy while you're meditating, you know? So when your brain's not practiced enough at doing nothing, you need to give it something. So if you don't have a guided meditation, then focus as intensely as you can on what you feel with your body. What does the bottom of your toes feel? What do your fingers feel? What can you hear, you know? And don't think about it, just really, really focus on it. And so that's why I love to carry things around and play with things.
Play-Doh, yeah.
Yeah. It helps you have something to focus on without having to think.
Right. And oh my God, how hard of a thing it is for you to like not think. You know, every single it's a scary thing. I for me personally, I'm scared of not thinking, and I know that because
You're vulnerable.
Yeah, like once you get home, oh, what am I putting in the air fryer? Whoa, what am I? You know, what I gotta do next? Or like homework. Oh, I gotta write down this. Like
yeah. And without having to ascribe yourself any guilt for not being proactive enough, and without having to have any worries, you can look at the future and you can plan. You can think about the future and you can plan for it. I'm not telling you not to do that. Again, you're playing the game as much as you want.
Right.
And with the past is good for one thing and one thing only, and that's to learn from it. You can look at the past, you can learn from it. Don't identify with it. Don't make the past into who you are.
So you are not who you were in high school or who you were even a year ago. That's just like that's not you anymore.
I always have been, and I always will be, because there is only the present moment. The who I was in high school, like the body I inhabited, my personality, all of that, it's not worth looking at my actions in the past and saying that those actions are who I am. We look at the present as nothing but the creation of a series of actions in the past. But how far back do you want to go? You know, look at like a boat, you know, on like a lake, on a calm lake. And if the boat's driving down the lake, it creates this wake behind it. And like that boat is the present moment. I think the present moment creates the past. You can't look at it like the past creates the present moment. And you can follow the wake of that boat as far as you want, but eventually it just fades away and you can't see what caused anything to be the way it is. And so life isn't a series of events. You're not cooking dinner and then you are doing laundry and then you are doing homework and then you are relaxing, finally able to have fun. No, it's all one big goopy mess that is interchanged. I mean, when did the act of doing laundry end? When like you walked away? Well, like the machine was still running. Well, I mean, when you ate dinner, when did that event end? You choose when to say that an event ended. Well, I choose that eating dinner ended when I finished digesting or something like that, you know? And like it's all arbitrary how events start and end, and it's all really one big event that is never going to end.
There's not even any time associated with it. It's just like,
No, it is
yeah.
it is beyond time.
Time is merely just a tool, just like so we can get the classes on time, like right? We're not late.
It is a
Yeah.
tool. It's
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Just don't identify with it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So I mean, we're wrapping up here, but
This is a great
dude,
time.
it's been insane. You know, because I came in with this like with the idea that okay, we're gonna talk about like, school and all that and like like academics, but I mean,
That would have been fun too.
that would have been fun too. But like honestly, like anything talking with you is fun. But
Oh, thank you, man.
yeah, but no, there's a lot of things that I feel like I think a lot of us have these thoughts and like on a daily basis. Like you know, maybe we're caught up in classes and stuff, and we don't. It doesn't feel like the right time to talk about them, but these are like so like this is like some of the most like interesting stuff that comes up.
It really is. I think that consciousness, unconsciousness, enlightenment, it's all a spectrum, and it's how deep with it can you go. And as humanity has progressed, people do seem to be just more and more aware of this illusion that we're all buying into and how it's not bringing us happiness. But yeah, this has been a great time talking with you.
Dude,
thank you for organizing this. What a cool project.
Sevan. Awesome, bro. Yeah, so we're gonna sign off now. Thank you to all people who are watching, and awesome. Thank you,
Until
Sevan.
the next one, right?
Until the next one.